Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys a Fear the Walking Dead review. I know it's been a little while since I've said that. I know I did say I would have this show finished a little over a month ago when I did the last video, but it's just been an extremely busy time for me. Just been exams and papers, so I just really haven't had the time to review Fear the Walking Dead or really much of anything. So this weekend, I really don't have a lot of homework. I do have to do some homework, but I don't have to do a lot of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can finish this season this weekend and at least get it to the point where I can watch The Walking Dead at least at some point this week and get that up. I probably won't have the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead done by the time the actual episode premiere airs, just because I have a lot of stuff to do next weekend, and it's just obviously Thanksgiving's in a couple of weeks, so maybe by Thanksgiving break I'll have that done. Um, so that should be nice. But yeah, I'm here to give you guys my review of Fear the Walking Dead because I would like to finish the show, and let's talk about this episode. Now I will say it has been um about a little over a month since I've seen the season premiere. I do remember it pretty well, but there's something significant that happens at the end of this episode that I don't remember if they showed um, in the last episode. I'm going to assume that it didn't, but whatever. Um, so let's just get right into this episode. This episode came out on April 22nd, 2018. It's season 4, episode 2, and it's called Another Day in the Diamond. Um, and that's pretty much the entire thing. Um, and pretty much what this episode showed was everything going on with Alicia, Nick, prior to the previous. So this was more kind of a past episode. But you do need to see this episode in a way because it does explain everything that happened at the end of the first episode, and it does show kind of the direction of where this season's gonna go. Um, at least maybe until the mid-season finale. I really don't exactly know. Um, but I do want to mention one thing I don't really like so far about this season is it has a huge time jump. I don't really mind time jumps in TV shows, but the thing I don't like about this was the last time we saw these characters, like for example, Madison was separated from her kids, because she almost drowned in the water in the last season, and she came up and she was all by herself, and now all of a sudden she's just back with her kids, and we don't really know anything that happened beyond that. Same thing with Nick, same thing with Alicia, um, and pretty much what happens is we find out they're living in a baseball stadium. Maybe why it's called Another Day in the Diamond, because um that's what the term diamond as terms of baseball stadiums referring to. I really don't know. Um but we don't really see how they get to the baseball stadium, and Luciana is back with them, and we don't really see how Luciana reunites with everybody else. So like I said, I don't mind the time jump, but it seems like it's too big of a time jump. They really should have gone more in depth. I think they wanted to have Morgan a part of this series, um, and that's why they did this big time jump. But it seems like they kind of rushed that a little bit, just in my opinion. I do like the time jump, but I don't know, it really is weird. But um, let's talk about this episode. So like I said, it is kind of showing them um it's showing how they've adapted into the baseball stadium, because we find out they are living in a baseball stadium. I don't know which one. I don't watch baseball, and also I don't know what state they're in. I think they said they're somewhere in Texas, and I guess whatever baseball stadium's in Texas is the baseball stadium they're staying in. But it doesn't say which baseball stadium they're in, and we don't even know what state they are in because, like I said, this was shown before the previous events of the last episode, so it might not even be in Texas. It's probably close to where they, you know, took Morgan and, you know, where they took Morgan, John, and Althea hostage, but whatever. So the group's adapting though. Um, we meet this little girl named Charlie, and we find out that um, we don't know what happened to her family. She found this community, and they took her in. And Madison promises they're gonna find her family, and Madison's building like a little community for her, and I like that. Um, in case they don't find her family, and what ends up happening is Madison hasn't slept the whole night, and we find out that the group have been staying there for over a year. You could see that this is definitely caught up with the times a little bit of the actual Walking Dead show, because when you see the infected, because obviously I'm just going to call them the infected because that's what they call them in this show, they look exactly like the walkers of the Walking Dead, where they look like they've been um, decomposing. I don't know if that's the right word, but they look like that they've decomposed. They look like the walkers from the Walking Dead. They, obviously when we'd seen them before, they didn't look as decomposed, and they, yeah, they just didn't look the same. So I did like that. And um, what else was I gonna say? And Alicia and Madison are going out for a run. We find out that Nick hasn't left the stadium for a while. Um, They didn't really allude to why. Obviously, that's probably going to be something we're going to find out in a future episode. Um, but obviously, he's probably haunted about the events, at the season finale where he blew up the dam. And I think he's perfectly content with staying in the stadium. It's kind of like, when Rick um, put away his gun at the beginning of season 4. They're kind of going with the same storyline right there. And um, yeah, so the group goes out on a run. It's just Madison, Luciana, or Lucy, however you want to say your name, Alicia, and Victor or Strand, however you want whatever name you want to call them. It's both the same name. We find out that there's a bug um, called. It's a pest that's like eating all the crops at the stadium, but we didn't know the turnip, and it's called. I had the name up a second ago. No, I have to find out the name because I had it. Weevils. It's a pest that's just eating all the crops, and this. I'm only saying this because this kind of ties in the episode later on. And Nick reveals to Charlie that they're trying to find that Madison and everyone's trying to find her parents. So Madison and Alicia come across this community. Um, um, that's been burnt down. Well, I should say not a community, but a camp that's been burnt down, and it's in giant oil tanks. And we see that they have a flag with a number that says 457. And we don't really know what that number means, but then we find out what it means later on in the episode. And Madison's talking with Strand and Luciana back and forth because they're going to go try to find other supplies. They can't seem to find any that's been completely ransacked. Um, and when Madison's about to respond, this woman holds her at gunpoint and um, forces them to give her the keys because we did know this camp was inhabited because somebody had been eating something that looked like it was fresh. Um, and Madison offers not to shoot her. She doesn't want to fight her. And she does do like Morph's code with the walkie-talkie because she presses it 3 times and we hear it go off. And instantly Victor and Luciana knew instantly something was wrong, so they run over to see what's going on. And Alicia holds her at gunpoint. And they easily could kill her, but they don't want to. They want to help her. They want to help her find, bring her into the community. But this woman doesn't want to. She runs up the oil tank, the roof of one of the oil tanks, and the roof caves in, um, and she falls into like this lake of the infected, and everybody ends up saving the. And they only use melee weapons because they don't want to attract any other of the infected. And we find out that her name is Naomi, and they offer her to bring her to the community, and that's what ends up happening. And meanwhile, back at the camp, um, Nick um, sees that some of the infected were drawn over by some sort of music, and he goes to take care of it, but he starts having flashbacks of the events of when he blew up the dam in the season finale of season 3, and um, then what ends up happening is Nick gets out of the truck because one of the guys ends up saving him, and the other Madison and everybody else comes back, and Lucian is like, "What the hell are you doing?" And Nick's like, "Oh, I was just taking a drive." I do like the sarcasm that they use in this show. I feel like it's the sarcasm that's kind of missing from The Walking Dead that it used to have. It still kind of has it in The Walking Dead, but it doesn't really feel like that it has it anymore. And um, they are a little bit suspicious about how the infected got there. Then we see the next day, Madison, um, actually not the next day, but later on in the night, Madison tells Charlie that they couldn't find her family, and she wants to know why that camp was all blown up, but Charlie doesn't want to talk about it. And she goes later on to talk to Naomi, and we find out that Naomi used to be a nurse at the ER. They offer her a place in the community, and Naomi's wondering why she's taking a chance on her when they don't even know each other. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much that. I do kind of like that storyline because it does show that like people in a zombie apocalyptic world are willing to help people, even though that's not the type of thing that you would expect. So I like it. Um, and then what ends up happening is um, everybody's trying to get the truck back in that Nick was driving the previous night, and Luciana sees another group of people come up with like RVs and stuff like that, and this forces everybody to retreat. They go into the armory and grab all their weapons, and Madison goes out and talks to the main leader. Um, Before that happened, we find out that they were the ones that played the music. We see the guy on a bicycle. He has like a boom box, and he rides into the U-Haul. Um, and the infected follow him in there. And I guess he died because he went in there with the infected, and we hear a bunch of commotion happen. But I would imagine he died because I don't know how the hell he would have gotten out of that U-Haul otherwise, unless there was like somewhere he could have gotten in. But yeah. I guess he was willing to sacrifice himself. And then we find out what the numbers are. We find out that the numbers, because he writes down the number of infected that they brought in there, and it says 12. And I guess that's what the numbers are. It's how many infected they put in there. But I don't know if that's exactly what it means because the number said 451, and it's really kind of tough to keep that track. Maybe they do like an estimate of how many infected. I don't know, but the main leader talks to Madison, and we find out that they were the ones that destroyed the camp. Pretty much, they take people's supply. Well, they in their minds they try to give people's advice on their supplies. Um, they gave advice on why how that oil tank was just going to explode and nobody listened to them, and that's what ended up happening. Um, but these are bad guys that do take people's supplies. Essentially, they don't like to call it that, but that's what they do. And they give Madison a choice. They can either join up with them and give them their weapons and become one of them, or they can just easily die off. And then they find out that that pest, the um, Weevil. They find out about the Weevil problem, and they know who Nick's name is, and this is very suspicious. Well, you find out that they've been using Charlie as a spy, and she's been giving him this information because they say come here, Dolan or something like that. And I thought they were talking about Naomi. She was going to be the spy, but then I was like, wait, that would make sense because how would she know about the Weevil problem? Well, Charlie was the spy, which I actually thought makes sense. It was really heartbreaking. I'm guessing they do this to every community where they have Charlie go out to be the spy. At first, I thought this was a family, but it wasn't. They actually found her and they use her as a spy. And I actually think that's pretty smart because um, no one would think that a little kid would be that type of spy, and no one's gonna like not take a little kid into their community. So I think that makes sense. Um, so pretty much what's gonna happen is they either have to join them or they're gonna end up dying off. But Madison says that they were different. We worked as hard as hell. We would just like leave out from going to community from community. We have a community. Um, but Mel, who we find out is this guy's name, says that eventually they're gonna come around to the idea. Um, so Madison goes back into the community. Later on in the episode, um, everybody I think is heartbroken about what happened with Madison and stuff, and what happened with everything. So they're still building like a room for Charlie. I'm assuming that's short for Charlotte, by the way, because there's no way her name is Charlie, because that's a guy's name. And Um, everybody else, I guess, wants to bring this girl in, so they start building the room. And Luciana, earlier, Charlie had asked for a book. Luciana gives her the book through the RV. And I did like the symbolism, but they feel kind of betrayed by Charlie a little bit, so I did like that. And then it catches up to the present, and we find out that the reason that Alicia, um, Nick, Strand, and Luciana hold um, Morgan, Althea, and John gunpoint was because they thought they were one of the. We find out that the community is called the Raptors. Um, the Vultures. I'm sorry, Vultures, not the Raptors. That's I believe the Raptors is an ocean thing, but the Vultures. That's the name of the group that took them hostage. And they find that out because they have their flag that says 51 um, on Althea's SWAT truck, um, and that's why you know they took them hostage, which I thought made sense because I was kind of wondering like what the hell changed, but then Althea reveals that she found this truck, so Morgan, um, they take Morgan, John, and Althea, and they tell them to go find where they found this truck. So that was the end of the episode, and yeah, not the most crisp review I did, but it's done. And I did like this episode. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it really set the tone of what the season's going to be about. Um, but like I said, I still kind of think they went too far into a time jump. And like I said, maybe they're going to sprinkle in this stuff as the season goes along. But I still, like, we don't even know what happened to Daniel Salazar, or whatever, however you say his last name. I don't like that because I liked his character. So I hate the fact that they kind of took his character out of it. Um, but I did like this episode. I thought it gave it a good tone. I thought it did a really good job of finding out what this episode was going to be, what the season's going to be about. Maybe I don't know if the season's going to take up the whole, I don't know if this storyline with the Vultures is going to take up the whole season, or if it's just going to be sprinkled in here and there. Or not, or if it's just going to take up to the mid-season finale. But I did like this episode. I thought it was good. I'll give it a B minus. I thought it was a good episode. Um, and like I said, I am interested to see how Morgan's going to fit in with Nick, with Alicia, and with the cast of Fear the Walking Dead. I think that's going to be a nice little dynamic right there. And it's kind of cool to see like a crossover, even though it's not a complete crossover because we don't really see in the original cast of The Walking Dead interact with these people, interact with this cast. Um, I still think it's cool. So yeah, that's my review of this episode. I'm gonna try to get as many of these up. I'm hoping I can finish this season of Fear the Walking Dead before um, you know this weekend. But that's pretty much my review. I hope you guys enjoyed this with you. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell. So that way, every time I upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.